They said that they had determined Kenneka Jenkins' death to be accidental and that there was, quote, no evidence that indicates any other conclusion. By December 2019, Teresa Martin was asking for $50 million in compensation. The lawsuit made claims that hotel staff knew Jenkins was missing prior to her entering the hotel's freezer, and that hotel officials failed to block off the area, which was under construction. It was also suggested by Jeffrey Feiger, Martin's attorney, that an employee could have mistakenly locked Jenkins in the freezer after she had entered it. The Crown Plaza Hotel responded to the allegations saying, quote, the death of Kenneka Jenkins was a tragedy. The lawsuit filed this week has no merit and we will vigorously contest it. At a press conference today held by counsel for Teresa Martin, the allegation was raised that there was a possibility that Miss Jenkins was locked in the freezer. Numerous media outlets have already disputed these erroneous claims of anyone locking Miss Jenkins in the freezer, referencing the video recorded by a motion-activated camera inside the kitchen. In addition, the freezer did not lock from the inside or outside and was functioning properly on the night in question. This is just another failed attempt to generate publicity for a frivolous lawsuit. End quote. Now let's talk about the digital evidence, which consisted of post-mortem photographs and CCTV from within the hotel. Graphic post-mortem photographs were released by police, which lawyers acting for the Jenkins family felt raised more questions than answers. For example, photos of Kenneka's body showed her top underneath her denim jacket was pulled up, exposing her breasts, and the pockets of her jeans appeared to have been turned out. The family were concerned by this, believing that there were questions that had not been answered before Kenneka's case was closed by police. The police released snippets of CCTV footage showing Kenneka wandering through the halls of the hotel more than a day before she was found deceased. You can access a lot of that footage on YouTube. I'd like to talk about the journey Kenneka took through the hotel, but I think we need to talk about the party first. So witnesses told police that the party was a birthday party and that many of the people who attended knew one another. Many admitted that alcohol and drugs, including marijuana and ecstasy, were present in the room. The hotel room seemed to receive a few noise complaints throughout the evening due to the music that was being played. Witnesses recalled seeing Kenneka. She appeared drunk, although how much she actually drank, according to witnesses, varies. Some say she had 1 cup of the Hennessy cognac. Others say she had that 1 cup, but then continued drinking from the bottle. So it varies, but all were in agreement that there was no cause for concern. All witnesses denied seeing Kenneka take drugs of any form. They described the atmosphere as relaxed as they all danced and listened to music, having a good time. They recalled Kenneka leaving the party with friends before her friends then returned for her phone and car keys. At around 3:30 a.m., the friends returned again, but this time without Kenneka. They said Kenneka was missing and they'd been searching for her. A few witnesses said that Kenneka's friends didn't seem overly worried, and so they didn't think too much of it. Other witnesses did go and help search for Kenneka. They also advised hotel staff that she was missing, and security informed them that they too would look for Kenneka. When her friends couldn't find her, they drove to Teresa Martin's house to return her car. Through the CCTV footage retrieved from the hotel, internet sleuths and police have been able to retrace the steps Kenneka took in those early morning hours. One video by Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, which I'll link in the show notes, sets out Kenneka's final journey. It starts at around 3:30 a.m. when Kenneka walked out of the elevator and up a ramp. By this time, she was alone. You continued to see her staggering and bumping into walls, sometimes using them to keep her balance. One witness at the party said that he'd seen Kenneka drunk and high in the past, but never as bad as she was at the party. She walked down a long corridor on the conference level before wandering through 2 sets of double doors which led to the lower level kitchen. She made her way through the kitchen to another set of double doors which led to a stairway. She disappears from view for about 10 to 15 seconds. There is a water fountain in the corner near where she was, so she may have been getting a drink. She then goes into the men's bathroom for about 10 to 15 seconds. She wanders back through the same double doors to the lower level kitchen. Now, she then came to a door and some back stairs. Once she's gone up the stairs, she comes to the wooden doors to the kitchen. These doors in the footage look unfinished, almost like they were boarded up, but they weren't. It should be noted that a lock was later put on these doors after Kenneka had died to stop people from being able to get into the kitchen. Once she was in the kitchen, Kenneka made her way to the back where the freezer was. Unfortunately, no camera angles covered the freezer itself, so she simply disappeared from view. Police stated, quote, "There is no camera that shows her physically entering the freezer and no camera angle." It was said that there was a camera directly above the doorway to the freezer, which would have answered the question of what happened to her once and for all, but that was reportedly not working, although police deny its existence at all. Before you actually got into the freezer, there was a door, first of all, to the cooler, and as you went through it, there was a door to the freezer on your left. When the door to the freezer is opened, it then closes and latches behind you, which may have been how Kenneka ended up getting stuck in the freezer in the first place, if you believe this was an accident. The safety knob could be seen on the inside of the freezer door. It looked like a regular round doorknob, but rather than turning it, you actually had to push the knob in for the door to open. There is a sign saying push above the handle, but Kenneka may not have realised what she had to do if she was intoxicated. Police confirmed that the freezer door could not be opened without pushing in the white circular handle, which would activate the door latch. Going back to the post-mortem photos and the autopsy report, there was an injury to Kenneka's foot and there was blood in the freezer. This included some small spots of blood on this white door handle. Also, you'll recall one of her trainers was on and the other one wasn't. So I wonder if, out of desperation, she has attempted to kick the freezer door or hit it with her, taking her shoe off and tried to hit the door with the shoe. Again, this is all presupposing that you believe that it was accidental. I'd like to take the time now to discuss the many theories and issues that people have with Kenneka's case. They feel that the police were too quick to close the investigation when there were still so many unanswered questions. I've been down the rabbit hole with this case, and so where there is a counterpoint to any of the issues raised, I will let you know. If I miss anything, though, please do get in contact. A warning, there are a lot of matters to be discussed in this section, so make sure you are comfortable. Firstly, let's start with the post-mortem photos. These photos showed Kenneka's top pulled up so it exposed her breasts. As I said before, her jeans were buttoned up but did seem to be sat awkwardly low on her hips. A rape test was not done on Kenneka, which many, many people criticised, and I have to say, I don't know why one wasn't done. Referring back to the autopsy, there were no signs of injury to Kenneka's genitalia, anus, or perineum, but for the sake of completedness, I think a rape kit should have been done, which could have either provided a new line of inquiry or it could have dispelled any concerns held by Kenneka's family and friends. But going back to the undressing, scientists who have studied hypothermia have reported a phenomenon known as paradoxical undressing, where people freezing to death remove their clothes. Hypothermia is defined as a body core temperature below 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. It is said that between 20 and 50% of hypothermia deaths are associated with this paradoxical undressing. In urban environments, this undressing can be wrongly interpreted as signs of sexual assault. An explanation for this odd behavior is a cold-induced malfunction of the hypothalamus, the part of the brain which regulates body temperature. An alternative explanation is that the muscles contracting peripheral blood vessels relax, having become tired, which, in turn, causes a surge of blood to the extremities, which could cause an individual to feel overheated. In an interview, Theresa Martin accepted the notion of paradoxical undressing, but said that most people are found completely naked. I think it was the areas of Kenneka's body that were exposed that caused concern, namely her breasts and stomach. Whilst discussing the post-mortem photos, we must talk about the injuries. And the injuries I'm referring to are not the injuries on the autopsy report. We accept those. There are a number of injuries that people have questioned who have seen the post-mortem photographs. Firstly, there is a scratch underneath Kenneka's right eye. To me, it looks like blood staining, but it is very subtle, so it's hard to tell. The next injury we need to talk about is a big one. I don't mean big as in the size of the injury, but big because many social media commentators have discussed it at length, and that is Kenneka's teeth and mouth. All you have to do is Google Kenneka's name to see hundreds of photos of her radiant smile. People were therefore concerned when they saw the post-mortem photos where they said her lips were swollen and it appeared as though the right front tooth was cracked. Some disputed this, saying it was just the angle, but Theresa Martin posted to her Facebook saying that her daughter's teeth were knocked out. She'd determined this from looking at videos and bruises on Kenneka's body. People also said that in the post-mortem photos there were scratches on Kenneka's left hand and knuckles. Theresa Martin also noticed from the post-mortem photos that on Kenneka's nail, which was painted white, there was a bit of black plastic, which some speculated was nail art. However, many have denied this, believing that it was from a black plastic bag. Based on a piece of footage of someone pushing a cart through the kitchen, some speculate that Kenneka's body was inside that plastic bag, sat on the front of the cart. One of the reasons that they believe this is that as the cart is being pushed through the kitchen, you see the floor is clean. Cart then knocks into some part of the kitchen. And as the cart continues to move forward, you then see there's suddenly a stain on the floor, which some people speculate is blood. A cleaner then comes along and very, very quickly cleans up the stain. Others, rather than thinking Kenneka was in the bag, others suggest that Kenneka was actually strangled with a black plastic bag. And as she struggled, that was how the small piece of black plastic ended up on her nail. They speculate that the perpetrator lured Kenneka to the freezer where she was suffocated until she lost consciousness. She then was left in the freezer to die of hypothermia. Another huge criticism of the investigation was that fingerprint testing was not done. Again, why? I'm by no means an expert, but I would think that this would be one of the first steps. Who has touched that freezer? Who's touched the handle? Once you've answered those questions, you have a list of people who you need to speak to in order to exclude them from the investigation. You would need to speak to those in particular who are not members of the hotel staff, as they would have had no reason to touch that freezer. Theresa Martin contested the police reports that concluded her daughter walked into the freezer of her own accord. Her argument was that if her daughter was as drunk as she appeared in the CCTV footage, how could she have opened the freezer door on her own? In an interview, she said, quote, "Those were double steel doors. She didn't just pop them open." I can understand Ms. Martin's point because there were two sets of doors that Kenneka would have to go through before getting to the freezer. In the CCTV, she was struggling to walk and was having to use the wall to hold her up. How easy would it have been for her to open those doors on her own? There was the suggestion that there was an alternative entrance to the kitchen via an elevator, which was situated around the corner near to where the freezer was. This elevator would have allowed someone to enter the kitchen without being picked up on any of the cameras. In Gray Hughes's YouTube video, which I referred to earlier, this idea is debunked as the area where the elevator was believed to be was shown to be an empty storage room with nothing in it. It did not provide